Airport. Crowds saw just another tired tourist. Blending into the sea of faces, a shadow lost in the terminal's bright lights. But by the end of the day, the world would know her as the woman who saved 320 lives. This is the story of the hidden pilot in seat C24C. She moved with a quiet purpose, a cap pulled low over her eyes, sunglasses hiding the story they held. Her steps were measured, her presence unassuming. She didn't want attention. She just wanted peace, a quiet escape from a past she had tried to bury. But that life was over, a chapter she had closed firmly. Now, she was just another traveler, another face in the crowd, seeking the anonymity that a bustling airport so easily provides. She wanted to be invisible, to leave the weight of her old identity behind. But destiny doesn't care what you want. It waits for the right moment, and it always finds you. The first jolt was minor, a gentle shudder that most people dismissed. Then, it happened. The left engine coughed, a violent sputtering gasp that shook the entire fuselage. A collective gasp swept through the passengers. Then the right engine faltered, its steady roar descending into a strained, agonizing whine. The captain's voice, strained and clipped, crackled over the intercom, but his words were drowned out by the rising chorus of panic. Screams echoed in the enclosed space. 30,000 feet above the dark, unforgiving ocean, fear swallowed the cabin hole. The plane began to lurch. Services a sickening drop that sent stomachs plummeting. In that moment of pure terror, all sense of order vanished. And then, a single clear voice cut through the chaos. Everyone stay calm. Listen to me. She was standing, unbuckled, steady, her voice a beacon in the storm of fear. Every head, fatores to her, spat passengers, flight attendants. They all froze, their eyes wide with a mixture of shock and a desperate fledgling hope. In the midst of the chaos, her voice was the only thing that did not shake. It held an authority that was undeniable, a calm that seemed impossible. She made her way palaverous. The front, her movements deliberate and sure-footed, even as the plane bucked bow-ending. She wasn't just a passenger anymore, she was a leader. She reached the cockpit door and knocked. A frazzled flight attendant opened it, her face pale. Inside, the scene was dire. Red lights flashed across the control panel. Alarms blared a deafening, relentless symphony of failure. The captain, a veteran with decades of experience, wrestled with the controls, his face beaded with sweat. The young co-pilot, his eyes wide with panic, fumbling through checklists. She looked at the captain, her gaze unwavering. "I'm a pilot," she said, her voice cutting through the noise. "Let me help." For a beat, there was only the sound of the alarms and the storm. The captain looked at her, saw the truth in her eyes, and nodded. In that moment, her disguise fell. The sky knew her again. Her hands found the controls yangon, and it was like coming home. The muscle memory, honed by thousands of hours in the air, took over. One engine was completely dead. The other was fighting for its life. She wasn't just flying a plane anymore. She was fighting nature itself. With the captain, she worked the controls, coaxing, commanding, pleading with the wounded machine. She barked out orders, her voice a torrent of technical commands and calm reassurances. She steadied the co-pilot, giving him tasks, focusing his mind. They were a team, forged in the crucible of crisis, fighting for every foot of altitude, for every precious second. The plane was a wounded bird, and she was its only hope of seeing the ground again, for what felt like an eternity. They battled the storm and the failing aircraft. She rerouted their course, searching for the nearest airport, a tiny beacon of hope in a vast expanse of ocean and darkness. The fuel was critical, the working engines sputtering under the strain. Down in the cabin, her earlier command had worked a small miracle. The screaming had subsided into a tense, prayerful silence. Every passenger there trust in the unseen hands, now guiding their fate. Then, a break in the clouds. Through the sheets of rain, the runway appeared like a promise, a thin strip of light in the overwhelming darkness. It would take a courage she thought she had lost years ago. The plane descended, yow yow you dray, fighting the wind. She held her breath, her focus absolute. The ground rushed up to meet them. The touchdown was hard, a bonjoring impact that sent a shockwave through the aircraft. Sparks erupted as metal scraped against asphalt. The screech of the brakes was a primal scream. The plane skidded sideways, its winged Doritos dangerously close to the ground, but it held. It stayed upright, it slowed, and then silence. A profound, unbelievable silence, broken only by the sound of the wind and rain outside. And just like that, against all odds, 320 souls were brought back to Earth safely. The cabin door opened, and the first responders rushed in, their faces a mixture of awe and disbelief. Inside, the silence concessio into a wave of emotion. Tears of relief streamed down faces. Strangers hugged each other, sobbing. They turned to the cockpit, and as she emerged, a hush fell over them, followed by an eruption of applause and cries of gratitude. The flight crew looked at her, stunned, speechless. That quiet woman from C24C wasn't just a tourist. Show was a former Air Force pilot, a decorated hero who had once left the sky behind, haunted by a past she couldn't outrun. But on this day, destiny called her back, and she answered. If this story moved you, please like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that remind us that heroes walk among us, silently, often hidden in plain sight, until the very moment the world needs them.